So we have all of our, we have the majority of our pages, or at least shells of pages. I didn't put the project name and the text underneath the gallery, and I didn't create this single image project page. But really, that's going to be a real close duplicate of the index page. Maybe not as much rounding on the photo. And I haven't done the gallery page yet. But I constantly am saying, oh, I need to take care of that. I need to take care of that. So this video is just strictly cleanup and touching up on different things. So I've got a list of things that I need to clean up. And one of them is the links. The links do not work. If we look at these links here, none of these actually have links. And I've still got the email me that is an actual email as opposed to a contact. And I don't really care much for, once this looks decent to me, it could, change a little bit. But once you get out this larger size, that really the logo starts to blow out because it's not constrained. There's no minimum size on it. So there's a bunch of little things that need to be taken care of. So let's get to it. Okay, so let's start with, and this is why you want to plan out your header and footer. And if I would have been more thoughtful about it, I would have had this done before I started copying pages. But I'm going to start with the index page, most important page of all. And I'm just going to go up here to where I have the home, gallery, and resume. And I'm going to say A, which is anchor, href, equals, and I'm just going to point it back to index.html because that's the home page, /A, and then I'm going to href, and I don't have the gallery yet, as I said, but I know I'm going to name it gallery. So gallery.html, close the quotes, and then close the A tag. And then the resume is unique because I want to put it up as an actual PDF. So I'm just going to say ahref equals resume.pdf. And with the href tag, you can set a target. I don't want them to go away from my web page. I want it to open up in a new tab. And so if I say target equals underscore blank, that's a way to say always open up in a new tab. And that's already closed. Close the ending A tag. The slideshow or the project is going to be linked out of gallery. It will be linked off of gallery. The thank you is off of the contact. And the contact form, we're going to replace the mail to with contact.html. And we'll just say, instead of email me, we'll say contact me. And why not? We'll put an exclamation point. Exciting. Yay! Okay. Now, the nice part about having all of this, I made all these changes. I also didn't link these. So the way I would link these would be, I'd put the href and put the ahref around the I tag. So in this case, I don't know what my Instagram is. I'm not even sure I know what my LinkedIn is, but I can find these out real quick. So I'm going to link at least the LinkedIn. And I am going to make this a little more readable by putting each of these on their own line. All right. LinkedIn. So open this up. Go here. Go to LinkedIn. View profile. There we go. Once again, this is something that, since I'm linking to an outside resource, I might want this to open up in another tab. That way they're not going away from my page. I want to keep people so they don't forget where they were. They were visiting my page. Well, if they go out to LinkedIn, I still want to keep them attached to my page. So I'm going to put in target and blank. Instagram, Etsy. Obviously, I was thinking of this being for somebody that has Etsy. While I technically have it, I don't use it. And so these are going to just be blank links. They're not really going to go anywhere, but they will be linked. One of the things we'll notice is the look of the form or the look of the page might change a little bit because they're now hrefs. But we'll deal with that when we get to it. All right. We've got this linked. We've got... All right. So now what we would do is go through this process of, I could either copy just the part of this, or I can copy the whole footer. And since I know the footer is going to be the same on every single page, it actually makes more sense to copy the whole footer over. So I've highlighted it. I did the Command C for copy. And now I'm going to go to the contact page. I'm going to scroll down, highlight footer, do Command V. Already did the index. I'm going to do the slideshow, scroll down, find just the footer. Notice that there's the script there. I'm not touching the script, only the footer, replacing it, and let's do the same thing on the thank you. All right, so the footer's taken care of, and then we can do the same thing with the header. Once again, we could just do the navigation, but it's almost better to do just the whole header. That way, if there's anything else that changes, we've got everything. So Command C, go back to contact, highlight the header, oops, and slideshow, header, and thank you, and replace the header. I'm going to save that. Well, actually, I'm going to go back and save all of them. Okay. So let's take a look and see how this looks now. I'm going to go back here. Continue. So now if I click on see these are all linked. So if I wanted to change these, I could change it so the A tags don't have an underline. Notice that these are blue now, and there's like this one that's an empty space. So that's a little bit odd. The contact me has an underscore or underline on it. Depending on what you want to do, this might be something that you want to get rid of. One thing I noticed about this form while we're here is I have more spacing here than I do here. If I look at this in the inspector and I click on the form itself, I get the form actually ends. Notice how the form ends here, but the actual inputs go outside of the form. Well, that is because of the box sizing. So that's something else I want to do. So we're going to make some changes to the CSS. So CSS, style.css. And I'm going to say I want everything to be box sizing border box. And that basically means that when I say width of 100%, that includes the border. So it handles a lot of oddities that happen between Safari, Chrome, and IE. I'm going to save this because I want you to see exactly what the difference will be. So notice right here, refresh. Now our padding is the same on each side. So that looks better. It actually stays constrained. The other thing is I want to keep control of this logo. So I don't mind it this size, which is like, according to that, it's about 35 pixels. I don't really want it to get much larger than that, regardless of what size screen I'm on. So the easiest way to do that is to set a max width. So I'm going to go down to where I have the header, I have the logo. Logo is Flex 1, but I want max width, and let's just say 40 pixels for, it's a nice even number. We'll save it, go back, refresh. Notice the size here didn't change, but if I go over here and refresh it, it's going to bring it back down. And that's what I wanted to happen here. And yeah, so that looks better. Let me see. So control size of logo. I wanted to increase the name size. Notice that Slim Shady is now on all the pages. That's because I didn't correct that typo when I was in the header. So I want to increase the name size so it stands out a little bit more. And so with the name, text align center, I can do font size, let's say 2EM. So I don't necessarily want it to be a header. I don't want it to be an H2, but I want it to be as large as an H2. Click save. Refresh. So now that's too large. The nice thing about using the developer tools is we can take something like this, highlight it, and we can see here where the font size is. We can sit here and change this all we want. So I can do 1.5 REM. Let's see what. Okay, that's increasing it one at a time. We don't want that. So I'm going to have to manually type it in. That looks decent. Doesn't totally look bad. So we're going to do 1.75. Now that I've messed with it live, I can go back here and with some confidence change the size. 7.5. And I'm using relative EMs. Save that. And what else? So the other thing is when this gets above, so this is, I have a media query set for 800 pixels. So at 800 pixels, everything still looks pretty decent. But once it goes out and gets really wide, things start looking a bit drawn out. So I'm going to set this to have a max width, the whole thing to have, sorry about that, hit the mic. I want the whole thing to have a max width of like 1,000 pixels. And I want the content centered on the page when I do that. Let's take care of that real quick. And so what I'm going to be doing is actually changing the body, the max width of the body. So I'm going to say max width 1000 pixels. Now notice that I'm putting this in the main section. I'm not putting it in a media query because I want the max width to be 1000 pixels regardless of what size screen you're using. So there's no need for a media query. The max width is 1000 pixels regardless. And I want it centered, so we go back to the old margin 0. Actually, let's just do margin left and right. Auto. Right. Auto. Save it. And let's open the page back up and refresh it. So what am I at here? I'm at, let's say, so, okay. So that gets another problem because that puts all my text right up to the very edge, right? And I don't want that either. I want it to be away from the edge. And actually the max width could probably be less than 1000. That would still be okay. But I want to make sure that this doesn't take up the full screen regardless. So let's go back to the CSS. And there's a difference between width and max width. So we'll say width. I can't decide. So we'll do 90%. That means when it's real small, there'll be 10%. So on a 500 pixel screen, that'll be 50, which will be 25 on each side. It might look a little large, but let's see what it looks like. So it didn't really change much there. But now when we go smaller, it's keeping it away from that edge all the way down to a very small screen size. I like how that looks better. I really don't like things right up against the edge of the screen. I find it difficult to read. I think it's bad design. And I'm willing to bet I can find somebody else that would agree with me on that has access to the internet and is willing to write it up in a blog. Let me see. Was there anything else offhand that I wanted to take care of? So I also don't particularly care for the underline. That's really easy to take care of. By default, we can set it so that, so we did here for H1, H2, H3, blah, 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 all the way down through. Since this is something that we want to happen on all the pages in everything, I'm going to put it at the very top, and I'm going to say A for the A tag. Text, decoration, none. Save that. Go back and refresh it one more time. Notice that it's gone. It's still blue. And all you'd have to do is say font color green or whatever if you wanted it to highlight. And that will also affect this once you have that in. Okay, so that was all for cleanup. I think there might have been one more thing, and that is this image here. And let's see what it looks like at 1000. So it gets really kind of gaudy at that point. So I'm thinking we need to limit that image size some. At 500 looks not horrible. So let's go ahead and take care of that real quick as well. And once again, this is, so here I have logo image. I'm saying width of 100%. Let's say max width 500 pixels. And we'll see if this breaks it or not. So it doesn't change it there. And that's still, if I highlight that image, it is still larger than 500 pixels. So that didn't work. Let's put it on the container div, because I'm certain that will work. So we have the logo image, and we have the image. Oh, oops, that was logo image. My bad. Let's go down a little bit further. That would explain why it didn't work. Profile image, width of 80%, max width 500 pixels. Save, go back, refresh. So now that's 500 pixels. And it's still adjust properly. And it resizes appropriately too. Looks a little bit better. Now there's some decorative things I could do. I could put a border on the bottom of the header and on the top of the footer to delineate where things are in the page. It's easy enough to do. Doing the max width on the body means that the body itself is going to be constrained. If I want the header and footer to still go the full width of the page, what I would do is put the max width on the main, so that it would only just be that main content area that gets constrained in size. Lots of different things you could do. But I think that's my list as far as cleanup goes. Have a wonderful weekend. So once again, I forgot to start off with GitHub. So you can see that if I look at my changes, contact, index, slideshow, thank you, all of these I've made changes. And I'm still on the master branch. Now I haven't committed anything yet. So at this point, I can still create a branch, say new branch. We'll say cleanup, create branch. Now all of these changes are on this new branch. If I commit it and just say clean up various issues, summary cleanup, and I'm going to submit it to that branch. Now if I go back to the master branch and I go back to my page, I'm going to refresh this and notice that this is back out of whack and these are the different sizes. So my master branch was what it was prior to me starting these changes. I have all of my changes in this cleanup branch. So I'm going to switch back to cleanup, refresh the page. It's like magic. Of course, the next step is to actually publish the branch, create a pull request, and submit that pull request for my peers to review. So I could do something like, hey, you forgot to change your name from Slim Shady. And at that point, I put a comment in, and now I have this comment that is part of this process. So then I could go back to my editor, and I'm going to find out real quick here how hard it is to change Slim Shady. So I'm going to highlight Slim Shady. I'm going to go to my portfolio. I'm going to click on edit and text, transpose. There we go. Find. So I'm going to highlight Slim Shady and copy it. I'm going to go back to the project. I'm going to go to selection and, or go to find, replace in buffer. Slim Shady, find in current buffer, Slim Shady, replace with Mark Mace. And I'm going to click replace all. Actually, I'm going to click on find all, replace all, and let's see if it changed it in. No, but now I have this found. I can replace. I can go back through these real quick. Slideshow, replace, thank you, replace. And now I've made all of these changes. When I go back to my GitHub, I should see, oh, didn't save them. All right, go back to GitHub. I see the 4 pages. Every single one of those shows the change for the name at the top. I'm going to click on Save Changed Name. Hey, thanks for catching. Name is now changed. And commit. Branch. Create pull request. Put those changes up. Clean up, change name. Shows all the changes. I'm going to view the pull request. Hey, you forgot to change the name. Now the next one is clean up various solutions. Oops. Let's go back to pull request. Clean up. New change since your last view. So I changed name. If I click on that, it'll show me that I did those. I'm going to go back. And merge pull request. Confirm merge. So now if I go to the website as it appears on GitHub, as soon as it finishes loading, scroll down through the pages, click on the link. Name is correct. Face doesn't get too terribly large in there. And we look good. All right. I'll say it once again. Have a good evening. Have a good weekend.